Honorable sisters, brothers, and friends, this is my 24/7 midweek happy hour, the brief mentioning, at least, of the previous God's Day Sunday Mass and miracle, which was Divine Miracle 28, where Christ heals a woman with an infirmity. Now, all of them, or most of them, are presented by who were his disciples, became his apostles, on the Sabbath. And many of them in the synagogue, the temple. Those were the main issues. But as Christ walked and preached, he healed many. You see? So people are surprised when they see that I present 40 divine miracle proofs of Jesus Christ. Those are, in my opinion, the main 40 that the apostles present in the New Testament. Now, I'm going to try to make this brief and informal. I'm forced to tell it like it is. And that is criminally insane, immoral, criminally insane J. Edgar Hoover experimented Americans to death. This is an absolute fact. Men, women, and children. Well, you have there's the law of God. There's God's laws, humanitarian laws, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, civil rights. That's all has been overcome or is pushed aside by a shadow government of egotistical, power-mad fellas. And all they care about is getting that money, is the money and power. Well, this is how then they operate. And it's continuously for years. You have to say, well, that's crazy. Well, of course. They are hypocritical, immoral, Hooveristic hypocrites. Like if you go about 40, the speed limit's 45, but traffic is going 50, but you're going with traffic, and there's a starts where you can now park in this street. Well, then the center line and lanes jog quickly to the left. Well, they time it so that as you're coming there and there's nobody in front of you and there's nobody behind me, but I have, there might be somebody just in that area where you can't really see to my left. So as you're going there, they'll jump out and swing the door open in front of you. Well, you're supposed to maybe go to the left, but you don't have to. You're going straight. You're still in your lane. But this is why they do it. By jumping out, and there's nobody behind me, so all I got to do is wait a second or two, and I'll go by. No, they purposely throw the door open and jump out, figuring that you're going to go to the left and say, see, we can time everything. Well, that's kind of crazy. Of course, what they're doing is they don't want to go, especially overseas, and the FBI, which really stands for Federal Bureau of Insanity, you go over there, they might get killed, injured, in tough conditions. They want to be here where they got control, power. They can do and say what they want to, write what they want to. So they can write a report. He went straight, and that's danger by vehicle manslaughter. Wow. See, they hand that in, and then those who don't know, or even if they know, they say, well, this is the way it's being done, read that and say, oh, well, look at this Doc Castellano is a dangerous where it's vehicle manslaughter. You see? And then when they go to maybe a committee, they have all these reports of why they need money and why they're spending the money, but they have that set because they can blackmail those on the committee. That's Hoover's modus operandi. That's the way he worked. He had them in his pocket by what he could get on them personally. So they would then be scared that Hoover would expose them. You say, well, if they committed a crime, they could at least then compensate, give you the honors and reasonable compensation, where you say, well, you know, I tried to avoid them, and you can forget about them. No, they're not going to give you anything of honors and money that's really yours that they've stolen. They've got a museum. And look at the hypocrisy. They have a museum to honor that pedophiliac Hoover, where they bring in young boys to idolize that pedophiliac homo Hoover. Really, see, that's the way they do it. People's money to honor that, for that criminally insane homo Hoover. So these Hoovers then have what they want. They gotta, where they in controlling and do and say what they want and write what they want. Yeah, that's what they want. And they have this shadow government where they have public mouthpieces that know that unless they do essentially what they're told, what they're actually told they have to do, or essentially what they're told, they don't live. I mean, Kennedy didn't shoot himself. Right? President Kennedy didn't shoot himself. Robert Kennedy didn't shoot himself. Martin Luther King didn't shoot himself. There was the governor of Louisiana. And being a governor, they said, hey, if we shoot him, he's got some friends here and we won't get away with it. So they tried to say he was crazy. And he says, what? He says, I'll show them. I'll say they're crazy, which they are. And he took and forced where those under him would do what they're supposed to do, and he'd still be governor. Well, they still took and shot him, I think. Yeah. And then they said, well, now we got to shoot him. So they shot him. And then George Wallace, who was for separations per color, then said, you know, yeah, okay, there should be equal rights. And when I'm president, there'll be equal rights. And then somebody asked him, well, what about J. Edgar Hoover? Are you going to still have him as the director of the FBI? And he said, well, I'll retire him per age. After he said that, in 4 days, he was the front runner. He was a front runner at the time, and the odds favored him to win. Within 4 days, they gave him a dinner, and then they took and shot him in the stomach. Well, you're not supposed to have an operation after with food, so they figured he would die. But he lived as a cripple. No matter who you are, they'll turn on their own, whoever they are at the time, who's in sort of got the lead power in the shadow government to do what they want to. These are the true facts. So then they'll take and, especially at night, well, they'll come alongside of me with the lights out, and the road will zigzag. And then about the time that maybe I'm supposed to move, they'll come right alongside of me. Well, he's a dangerous driver. And then they'll have somebody run across. I have the green light. They'll have somebody run in front of you fast. So they see how fast we are, and we've got to time what you can do. And he gets to the corner. Well, if you're going straight, all right. But if you're going to make a right turn, now he takes and runs with the green light. Hey, now it's again vehicle manslaughter. Oh, you see, yeah, how clever. This Federal Bureau of Insanity gyrations. If they're that good and know all these things, why don't they then say, you know, that's the way they do it in almost all personal injuries. They'll settle with you, but take no responsibility of having fault, and you can't put a claim against them, and you agree in order to get reasonably what you should get. They could do that and then say, okay, we like bought him off. Well, no, you know, I have to pay my bills and so forth. So naturally, I would accept like $10 million is nothing. They owe me billions. And others they owe that they've committed crimes, experimented with to death, injured. You say, oh, that's me. No, it's getting time. But these are the true facts. I want to get to what is real important. And that is, there's now what's called a group of nations that are functioning to develop themselves, to lift themselves, which is normal and reasonable. And it's called BRICS. BRICS, the first letter of the nation. They put it in BRICS. And they had their first real, where they worked together in sound, sensible peace and harmony and development. This is great. And I've been to these countries where the U.S. dominates them. They'll work 6-7 days a week mining gold, getting killed, injured. But they can't use the gold because they pay off the government. And the gold goes to the U.S., and the U.S. prints paper money, gives them the paper money, and that's what they have to use. Can't use gold. Wow. But I've been there. Now with this BRICS, and you use BRICS for a solid foundation. Now they're sound and sensible, and to me, as an observer, it was like, wow. It's like, gee, you see. An opening freedom where there's prosperity, peace and prosperity. That's just me, an individual. That's how important it is for these nations to get themselves liberated from the dollar dominance, from this King George, Queen Hoover, criminally insane hypocrisy. And then there's Israel, that is controlled by the Zionists. And the Zionists practice genocide against the Palestinians especially. Of all people to practice genocide is, Jewish people. But that's it. And they say, well, they have the power. That's what they're going to do. What can you do about it? Well, I at least expose them. And that's the true facts. And I'll repeat with emphasis is like this BRICS and other ways of this really peace and prosperity. Thank you.